फिर से सारी बातें जो नहीं करनी थी कर डाली माँ अम्मी आज पूरी रात.
Hey guys, this is Nazar from the future. Just wanted to say that I kind of screwed up in the start of this podcast. I didn't have headphones on and I could hear feedback coming in, and I'm glad I caught it in the first few minutes, but we kind of lost like 5 minutes of the first interview. So here's the quick summary of what happened. I called Abdul Rehman, we talked for a bit, got to know each other, hit record, talked for another 5 minutes, and now we're here. Here we go, enjoy.
It again?
Can you hear me? Is everything good?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Sorry. Continue with that. How did you come back to Pakistan?
So I wasn't actually meaning to come back and stay for any like long period of time.
Yeah.
It was just a thing that I was I just quit my job in London.
What did you do in London?
I was working as a video editor for a philosophy music festival.
Yep.
Which is probably a lot cooler than it sounds.
But
But
sounds like a Glastonbury to me.
yeah, it was it was a fun festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after I quit my job, and then the lease was up on the house as well. So I was like, perfect timing. Let's just go back to Pakistan, spend some time with my parents. They live up in Abdul.
Yeah.
And just chill out for a few months, and then head back and look for a job and properly like try and get back in the grind.
Yeah.
But then I just happened to come across, I think it was on Twitter, I just came across a job posting for Mangabaz, video editor at Mangabaz. And my sister, who I live with, she was already working here. And so I was like, well, she's enjoying it. So maybe I'll also be able to, have a good time. And then I joined Mangabaz, and it was fantastic because they're all very similar, creative, kind of fun workplace. So it just kind of worked out really well for me.
I've always enjoyed writing for them. I write more short fiction, and they're looking for more of the BuzzFeed type articles. So that always was a clash, because I was like, look at this is such good fiction, and they'd be like, no, we need more clickbaity titles. And I'm like,
right.
That friction never died off. So it was hard for me to write for them. But whenever I did, it was always fun. The editors there were helpful and constructive, and it was a fun time writing for them. What was your experience at Mangabaz?
Like you, I had a really good time. I mean, there was definitely always friction between like how you make money from like native advertising because we were on the video side of things, so we were always kind of pushing against the brands and getting really annoyed when they asked us to add more, I don't know, branding in the video or cut
That's
this
always
out.
The struggle,
Yeah, exactly. So like I'm sure you face with the audience, preferring like listicle type content.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
And
so
I was always of the opinion that if you the people don't really know what they want until they have it.
Absolutely.
So if you don't give it to them, they won't know if they like it or dislike it. And that was the friction that we mostly had via email, because I was in Toronto, so I couldn't really go up to their faces and be like, oh.
And I feel like Pakistanis. Yeah, I feel like generally the ecosystem here is they need results immediately, otherwise it just goes straight into the trash, right? So it's like, even if short fiction, I'm sure if you were writing it weekly or whatever, if it was a consistent thing, that you were like, give me 3 months, right, to build an audience. But nobody has 3 months here. That's the big shame. Like
it's difficult. What do you think about the arts in Pakistan? Because how long have you been there now?
I've been here for about 3 going on 4 years, maybe 4 years.
I haven't been back to Pakistan because I'm from Karachi primarily, so I haven't been back to Pakistan since 2016. I used to live there from 2005 to 2012, and then we moved here to Canada, and then I've been here since. So I don't really know the scene there, the music scene, the art scene, the movie scene. For me, outside perspective, it seems like it's a big dumpster trash set on fire. It's like right about to blow. So what would you tell me as a person who's interested but doesn't really know where to look about the art scene in Pakistan?
So I would just go back just a little bit, because when I was living in London, I was in a similar position to you, which is that I had no idea that there was an art scene. I literally had no idea that there was anything going on here.
Yeah.
I happened across a Pitchfork article. I don't know if you know Pitchfork. It's a music magazine.
I know Pitchfork.
Yeah, and they had an article called "Uncovering the Pakistani Underground" or something like this. Like it was all about Karachi's underground.
I think I've
Yeah,
read
it's
it.
like a
I think I've
photo.
seen
It's
it.
a photo essay by Tonje Tielsen. I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong. But she did a photo essay, and it was beautiful pictures and about Karachi's underground music scene. And then at the end there was a SoundCloud playlist of like all the artists mentioned in the piece. So I listened to that and I was like, I had no idea that this existed at all, and that people were making this kind of weird experimental kind of electronic music that I was really into at the time. I mean, I still am, but I was especially into it at that time. So yeah, that's how I was looking at it, like you, as an outsider in some ways. Like, so it was all very new and very exciting for me.
Yeah.
And so I started Mosiki in London for the first few months, actually probably like 6 months or something.
Yeah.
Just doing album reviews and essentially just taking the Pitchfork model and just being like, well, let's just do that
Run
here.
with that. Yeah. Try and test it.
Yeah, exactly. And also I really enjoyed reading Pitchfork's reviews and stuff like that. I really liked them as a magazine. So
Sometimes they're brutal, but you know.
Yeah. I mean, I find myself agreeing with them much less nowadays, and I don't read them as much nowadays. But at the time, I was reading them a lot, and so I think that outsider perspective is kind of a good thing, because you're not like embroiled in the scene, which is, like you said, it's a bit of a dumpster trash on fire or whatever you say. Because everyone will tell you here that there is no scene, there's no industry. I don't agree with that. There's clearly like people doing stuff, but it is mostly just that. It's just people doing stuff and trying their best.
It's not organized.
Which is how
the record label culture doesn't exist anymore. There's no platform for these artists. Like I had Umar Mukhtar on my podcast a few weeks ago. Great indie artist, doing it all on his own. This man pays for his own studio sessions. He's there with his own guitar. His friend
I was almost about to make his music video actually at one point. We were in discussions about making a music video.
For what? For what song?
Man, you're gonna make me look bad for that.
Oh no, we'll edit it out.
Divana. I don't remember it. Divana,
this guy is so good. Like Umar Mukhtar is one. Like I have stumbled upon him because one of my brother's friends was in school with him in HSN or something like that, and he was like, "Yo, you guys check the song out." And I heard Urtatara, and I was like, "What is this guy doing with 35,000 plays on Spotify? This should be in the millions. If this was in India, this guy would have those movie deals right now." But he's struggling, and it forces me to think cynically about the Pakistani art scene, because I'm like, if people like this is like quality art that's not being represented, not being appreciated. And as an artist myself, as a writer, the only thing I want is the recognition and the appreciation, or else I feel like, what is the point? And I feel like from a standpoint, from an outside Pakistani perspective, everything there seems frustrated for the youth, and at the same time, music and the art scene seems like it's on the top of the list of frustrations. Like, you can't find a job, you have an engineering degree, you can't do anything with it, but you can't even enjoy the downtimes because you don't have any music. How many times are you gonna play Jalpari by Atif? Like on loop, right? And it saddens me. Then I came across Mosiki, which gave these artists a push, and it made me so happy to see that. And then there was conversation and dialogue from both sides on a very intellectual and personal level, and that's why I have to commend you, because that was something that I hadn't seen before. Like, last time I saw somebody make an effort with the Pakistani music scene was probably like 2010-11, when like AG and like Airby music was a thing, right? After that, it's just been radio silence from the corporate people, and it's been like people like you or like other people trying to like lift that. And
I mean, like I've said, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. I was just asking, like, what is the way around that? Like, is there ever gonna be a music scene again that's like prominent and organized?
So like I said before as well, like one blog doesn't do anything. Like I've come to understand that now. Initially I was like, oh, it's amazing, like it's gonna really
blind optimism
group it's gonna group everyone together. It's fine if it doesn't. Like, that's not the case. It's far more important to have multiple places that people can go, right? Like that's I think I haven't actually done the reading on it, which I should, but from what my general thoughts about it is that in the West they had a big blogosphere kind of rising,
Yeah.
where you had these blogs like Pitchfork, and there were loads of other indie blogs that rose up at the same time, and they were all writing about music in this very passionate way.
Yeah.
And they were all being like, you have to listen to this band, and this band is amazing, and this band's upcoming, and if you don't listen to these, you're not cool, and whatever. So that's how the blogosphere kind of emerged, and that's how it kind of rose all these artists together, if there is any value to that at all.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not certain that there is, but I think that there probably is, like, in that curation aspect. And so it's only valuable when there's a community that grows around it.
Yes.
And these days I'm sorry to be so pessimistic, and I really don't mean to be, but my issue is that online, I feel like it's very, you're so divorced from like the audience. Do you know what I mean? Like people, like sure, like people like the Instagram page or whatever, but it's nothing tangible, right? Like I'll write an album review, and I've said this before as well, that I'll write an album review for like 2 days, because it will take me 2 days to listen to it like multiple times, and then actually try and write something coherent about it. And then I publish it and nobody reads it. The fact that nobody reads it is fine. I don't mind that at all. Like, it's not for everyone, and that's not, I don't care about clicks in that way. But it's just the fact that it kind of feels like it disappears that I really don't like. Yeah, that's the element.
It's because it's the inflow of content. Like, more content over quality content, right? So let's say even if you take that time, you write a quality review, that's constructive criticism that helps the artist if they read it, that helps the audience if they read it, but it just gets buried under like piles of just utter garbage from other people, then you're gonna feel like it's gonna be horrible. So that's,
but
don't you think at the same time that media outlets like Mango Bars, Parlo, all these other ones, I don't even know what else have come up since I've stopped writing, but don't you think they have sort of like responsibility to like, you know, promote the arts as they do? Like the one problem that I always had with Parlo was it relied on it being clickbaity, right? And there's not a lot of value to that. Like, because clickbaity articles are going to be like, you open it, you read a few things, and it's gone. But like things that are sustainable, like I'm not saying Mango Bars is ever going to be like the New York Times, but the New York Times has this reputation of having stories that have an impact. So like if you click on New York Times articles, you will read through it and you will learn something, or you will take away either a positive or a negative emotion, but you will go through the experience. I feel like all these online blog articles, which have like millions of followers, like I don't even know how many likes Mango Baz has on Facebook anymore, but it's over 1 million, right?
million.
Yeah. So like I feel like they should have the responsibility of being like taking the reins and being like, yeah, we'll promote indie artists, we'll promote all that stuff. That's why I gave Patari a lot of props when they first came out, before the whole sexual harassment scandal that took its its downfall. Yes. But before that, I was like, they're moving towards the right direction. I like where they're going with this. And then I look at other organizations, and I'm just pissed off.
Yeah. Well, I wrote, I think, only 2 articles for Mango Bars from a Mosiki handle, right? So it's about like indie music or something. I can't remember the articles anymore. Yeah. But it's one of those like weird double-edged swords, I guess, where when you chase after the audience in the way that you are, where you're like, the audience likes listicles and they like that kind of content, and they're like easily consumable kind of that kind of content. And then when you put something like, oh, listen to this indie music, then nobody reads it. And so then it becomes just like this thing that just self-perpetuating truth, right? Where it's like, nobody reads articles about that and therefore we don't publish it. And then when we do publish it, nobody reads it because they've never seen it before on that platform. And so that, it's just, it's this big, circle. So I can kind of understand it from their point of view, which is that it just doesn't get any views. Nobody engages with it. At the same time, I'm like, I think there is actually an audience. It's just all about figuring out how to get it to people in the best way, and how to make it into a something that's easily digestible for them, and it doesn't feel alienating, and they understand what you're trying to give them, right? So Having said that, I'm sure the Mosiki audience. I haven't looked at the insights or anything like that. But I'm sure it's a very burger audience. I'm sure it's a very westernized audience.
Yeah.
It's not at all meant to be like. Adil Bhai brings in a lot of traffic from people who had no interest in indie music, which was initially like a little bit of an issue for me, because I was like, oh, everyone's coming. This huge inflow of audience that are liking the page are coming in for Adil Bhai's political views, and then on the side they're also getting this weird indie stuff like album reviews that they have probably no interest in.
But it's positive exposure, because I went the opposite way. So I was looking at Mosiki and I found out about Adil Bhai stuff, and I was like, oh, so he's from here. That makes so much sense. That adds up to me in my mind. Because I'm like, okay, what is Mosiki? It's an indie music blog, which itself is so revolutionary of its time that it's gonna do weird things like have a political podcast on it and have left-wing views. And sure, that makes perfect sense to me as someone who's looking at it from an outside perspective. But I see what your point is for people in Pakistan who may not care about the indie music scene and suddenly are on Mosiki's page and I'm like, wait, what? What is happening?
Right, exactly. But I think I agree with you in the sense that if it's maybe, this is not to be superficial about it, but maybe if it's just, I kind of thought that maybe if it's the same aesthetic, in the sense that the Bayan Bazu or the transmissions and the podcast and the any other short videos or whatever, they're all shot in a kind of similar way, then you might be able to understand, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. I get why there's politics and music and they exist in the same space. Because for me, they are very much a similar thing.
Yeah, all the biggest artists were politically inclined. U2, Bob Dylan, the Beatles even, right? Like they
entire movements, like punk rock is political.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the link has always been there. It's just about how do you present it, right? So if
what kind of music do you listen to? What are you inclined to? Who are your favorite artists?
I listen to a lot of different stuff.
Like what?
What am I listening to these days?
Because one of the criticism that my friends have is that I listen to a lot of the same stuff. Like all my music, even if it's new music, sounds like it's been played before. Because I'm more influenced with like the Britpop scene, the Oasis, Blur, Coldplay, all that stuff, and then I'm more influenced towards the pop rock scene. So like I love like the Coldplays and the Kodalines and the indie music scene like that. Now that I didn't even have Spotify till like 8 months ago. Now that I have Spotify, I like sort of find artists that I'd never listened to, like indie artists, folk artists, stuff like that. So what kind of music would I find on your Spotify playlist?
Man, I really like Kanye West.
Yeah,
Kanye is a big favorite of mine.
So that's a great conversation starter, because can you, as a fan of Kanye West, separate the art from the artist? Like, can you listen to like Life of Pablo and then see his tweets and be like, ugh, okay, not for me today?
Personally, I have no issue with that at all, because
really,
like, I've never really had that much of an issue with that. Because if I watch something and it moves me, then it moves me. Like, I don't care who made it. Yeah. So this whole cultural conversation that everyone seems to be having, which is that, like, you know, whoever made it. Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand. But
so you don't have a problem with MJ as well?
I was never a huge MJ fan, but I mean, I like his music, but I was never like, big into MJ. But yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, so that's a positive thing. Because a lot of my friends here who are like left leaning or try to be really PC, like I put Thriller on the car and they turn it off.
No way.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. They're more like white people, so I get it.
Okay, that's crazy to me.
Toronto, like, I don't know about Canada, but Toronto is very like sensitive about that. A few years ago, we had a bill almost passed in the Parliament about using the appropriate pronouns and how that was.
That's
like,
the whole
the Jordan Peterson thing. Yeah. And like that, I was like, what is happening? What am I getting myself into? It got really confusing for a while, and now I think it's sort of like self-correcting itself. But we were there for sure. There's a lot of people leaning towards that, and you know, stand-up comedy is becoming taboo. You can't talk about certain things, and it's quite polarized here.
Yeah. I mean, like, Kanye has like, I think he's admitted himself he has bipolar disorder. So
Yeah.
if it's, if he's wearing a MAGA hat and he's supporting
Yeah.
Trump, and I know that like my favorite album of his is Yeezus, which is
Yeah.
all about like the black experience and being like a consumerist.
Yeah.
And like New Slaves is all about being a new slave, right? It's like
Yeah.
you don't have shackles, but you have these other kind of like I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, but then if you listen to New Slave and then you hear him talk about how slavery was a choice, how do you reconcile those two things? Because those are both Kanye.
Yeah. I mean,
And how far do you give him the benefit of the doubt? Like, yeah, okay, he has bipolar disorder. Maybe he's not all the way up there today, but it's still him.
yeah. But the thing is, I don't really care that much about his personal life. Like, I find it very interesting, and like
Yeah.
musically, yeah, I am a bit like, okay, because you can literally chart his music. Each album is like he made out of a certain like mental state, right?
Yeah.
Like 808s and Heartbreak was after his mother died. I think he made that album. after
I'm
that.
not a Kanye fan at all. I'm a very
Right.
casual Kanye fan. Like if he's on the radio, I'll be fine. But
yeah, I just
I'm-
said I'm a
don't-
huge Kanye fan, and I
You
definitely
couldn't-
messed that up. Yeah.
It's okay. It's all good. So, but like for me, it was I agree with you a lot. Like I can separate the art from the artists, but then there's some things that I'm not able to. Like I can't listen to Ali Zafar songs anymore, like I used to.
Okay.
Like I listen
Right,
to
right.
Musty, or like
Mhm.
the biggest hits. But when he sings
So
about
it's just about how good it is now. That's not a principle.
yeah, I guess you're right. But like even when I'm listening to Musty, I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I listen to it reluctantly. How about that? I'll put it like that. It's not
Right.
not as fun as it was when the allegations had not come out. And
Sure,
I
sure,
struggle with
yeah.
that. I don't know what the right answer is. Do I like quit on the artist or do I find a way to separate the art from the artist?
Yeah. I
Struggle.
guess it is more complicated than just being like, yeah, I can separate them, because there's
Yeah.
like Woody Allen is a big example, right? Because
Oh,
his
yeah.
art is so influenced by who he is as a person. Like, sure,
Yeah.
he's playing a character, but it is kind of like Woody Allen playing Woody Allen in
Yep.
his own films.
Yeah, same
So
thing
that's
with
when
Roman Polanski. I just watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so I was reading up on Sharon Tate, which made me read up on Polanski. And then I was
have
like,
have you
"What?"
watched any of his films?
No, I wanted to watch The Pianist, but I have reserved it now for a while because I'm
Right,
like, I need to like either forget about the stuff that I just read, or I might never come around to watching it because it's hard
Yeah.
for me to watch World War II movies anyways. But
Right.
then you have that added filter of it's a Roman Polanski film, so it just
I
don't
just
know.
don't think that. Yeah, but it doesn't make The Pianist a bad film, right?
no,
Like,
it doesn't. Definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean, it won so many Oscars or whatnot, right?
Yeah, it's a
I
really
don't
good
think
film.
I don't think I'm arguing that the quality sort of drops. It's just that because my conscience is not allowing me to like filter it out. So I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I need to work on that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
difficult for
I
me.
see. It is weird because like
one of my favorite Woody Allen movies was Midnight in Paris, and I used to watch that like. It used
I
to be one
love
of
that
those,
film, dude.
I love that. I
Such a
still
nice
love
film.
that film, but
Yeah,
I rewatched it because I love Hemingway and Fitzgerald, and those two together in a movie was just like,
Yes,
oh my god,
absolutely.
like a geek.
It's such a weird.
Wet
Yeah,
dream.
it's like a weird geeky thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Totally.
It's like when you see if I was a superhero fan and I'd read comics, I'd be like, oh my god, Superman for the first time on screen.
Yeah.
This is
It
kind
was
of a
literally like that, but with
Yeah.
Hemingway and Fitzgerald. And I used to that used to be like by Seinfeld. I used to just play in the back, right? I used to be doing my work, and then like ek do dialogues mujhe aate, so I'd say it with them. And then the
Right.
allegations came out like when I first heard of them, and then it was like, I don't know.
yeah.
It's difficult. It's
And
it's
the
hard
thing
to
is
do
that everyone has varying levels, obviously, but everyone has varying levels of shit that they've done in their life.
yeah.
So
yeah, because nobody's a perfect human being. Like the whole Kevin Hart thing that happened with the Oscars, that was stupid. Like,
yeah.
I don't agree with that. I don't see how you could still pin something on someone that they did or said a decade ago even. don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
How
as
is-
cliche as it is, no, sorry, go on. Let's move
No,
on.
go ahead. No, I was just
I was
going
just about to
through-
say, like, David Foster Wallace, as cliche as it is, he's like, I really like his writing.
Yep.
And then it was only later that I found out that he'd, like, abused his wife, or actually, I don't want to say that. I'm not sure exactly what the thing is, but I
Allegedly.
think
You can almost say allegedly and get away with it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Allegedly, I think he like kicked his wife out of a moving car. But again, I don't know. It was some weird shit, and then but then it's like the experience I had while reading his books. It doesn't change for me at all. So
like
sure,
J.K. Rowling is in the crossfires right now with her quote unquote transphobic remarks, and that one I'm like, it's hard for me to reconcile because I'm like, I'm never gonna stop reading Harry Potter because J.K. Rowling was an ass on Twitter,
even though she's like rewriting her own books, which is annoying.
For me that is like there comes a point where I stop listening.
Yeah, sure. Like that's just being online, right? It's like maybe we should just not be online. Like who cares? The books exist as they exist. It's like
like
nobody has to read about that.
I'm rereading Harry Potter right now, and I can reread the whole series without knowing that Dumbledore was gay, and it does not change the series for me.
Yeah.
And then all the added stuff that she puts in, I don't pay attention to that. Because for me, the books are canon and then the movies are canon, and that's it.
Yeah.
And like,
and that's what it is.
I see that a lot with Star Wars fans who literally choose what is canon and what is not. Like I have a friend who says that the prequels don't exist for him, and then I have another friend who says that the sequels, the ones that just came out, don't exist for him. So I'm like, wait, you could do that? You could choose which ones you like.
And that makes sense. I like that. Do
right?
whatever
so I've gone with that model more so.
Yeah.
So what is the future like for you right now? What are you into? What are you going to do with the Mosiki blog? Is it going any much further? Because you sort of painted this very pessimistic, cynical picture of it, and I hope you don't quit it.
No, I think because recently, I mean, when I say recently, maybe like in the last 3-6 months. Yeah, I kind of given up on making any money out of it.
Yeah.
So for me, that was kind of a liberating thing, to be honest, because I was like, I don't want to even think about that aspect of it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do the stuff that I enjoy, that makes me creatively fulfilled or whatever. Because a lot of it is very creative in the sense that it's like, not creative in that sense, but it's like, oh, I want to design some shit, or let's write this article, or let's do a mixtape, or let's do this, and then people contribute, and then we work on it on stuff like with them, and that's awesome as well. So it's nice in that sense, and so it's literally just personal fulfillment at this point, and somewhere that I can put stuff that if I want to, just like an outlet.
For sure, yeah.
And
I think
completely.
I don't know how because I've been trying to break the whole podcasting in Pakistan for a while now. But I feel like that's a niche that you could really, really like take over. Like that could be your thing. You could be the next Joe Rogan of Pakistan if you wanted to. Because your podcasts are so casual. They're so good to listen to. Like I put it on in the background. I'm vacuuming. I'm doing my normal house shit, and it's on, and I like it. And I think
thanks, man. That's awesome.
You guys have that like, you and Adil Bhai definitely have that chemistry where like you can break the internet with it. And I think you should think about that. Maybe you could discover more in that realm.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the transmission stuff is literally just me as just listening to Adil, because that's literally how our discussions go, right? Yeah. So I'm just very interested in what he has to say, and I think that other people are as well. So it's great, and it's like, why don't we just?
Adil Bhai has a very strong personality. Do you think? I mean, is it easy for you to disagree with him if you ever do disagree with him? Like,
yeah. Yeah. And like, sometimes I think that he comes across on video in these kind of political discussions very serious. Yeah. If you watch any of his Manga Boss videos, you'll know what he actually is like.
He's character.
He's a complete character. Yeah.
I think that's needed, because if you have the funny side of you, then you will obviously have this serious side of you. Like most of like the morality or education that I've had from the arts has been from stand-up comics. People like
are you a big stand-up comic fan?
Oh yeah. I love that stuff. I love that stuff. That's also one part of the Pakistani art scene that I think is lacking, because right next door at India, their stand-up scene is booming. Yeah, their stand-up comics are getting like millions of views online, and we had this one girl in Karachi who made fun of the Sindhis and had to apologize.
Oh, really?
Like, what? Yeah, I heard about this. I think I saw it on Swinery or something. She posted about it. And there was this one girl who was doing a stand-up gig at some place in Karachi, and she was making fun of the Sindhis. And get this, she was Sindhi herself. So she was making fun of
Okay.
herself, sort of. And then
Right.
all the Sindhi Vadeiras got pissed off and she demanded an apology, and she had to apologize a couple of days later. And I was like, well, this is why the stand-up scene isn't booming.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even talk about cultural differences.
But who's even watching that? Like, who's complaining?
I don't know. It blew up on Facebook, I think. It had like 80,000 views or something when I saw it. And then
So people found it funny.
I thought it was hilarious.
Right. Right.
But conversely, right opposite. Like I remember when Vadera Ka Beta came out by Ali Gul Peer.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a complete dig at the Sindhi culture, but they sort of revered it. Like ironically, they were like, "Yeah, we love this. This
Right.
is us."
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if there's like some sexism at play or whatever, or if that medium wasn't really translated well.
Yeah.
Because even here, like in North America, people think that stand-up comics are telling the truth when they're actually kind of not. I mean, they are,
Yeah.
but they're being funny about it.
Yeah.
So-
yeah.
Are you into stand-up?
Well, like I mean, like Dave Chappelle, I think is a hilarious guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am into stand up, but I don't follow people like in that sense. Like I do think that Louis, again, like to separate the art from the
See,
artist.
I can do that.
I think he's a fantastic
Oh
comedian.
my god, he's so smart. He's so smart.
Yeah.
And some
Yeah.
of his stuff, even if it's uncomfortable, it's the way he presents it. It's just genius. I don't know how he gets away with it. Well, I guess
Yeah.
kind of did it.
And this
but
was when we were even doing Manga Bars videos. A lot of the times we were like, again, maybe this sounds like more ambitious than it should have been. Like we're essentially just making stupid videos.
yeah.
But comedy is the vehicle with which you can change someone's mind. I think that is how stand-up comedy also functions, right? Is that not like a psyop or anything, but it is a
Yeah.
way that you can, subtly just like implant an idea or just like get a concept across, and it really works because you just made someone laugh, and
Yeah.
laughing is surrender in some way.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, by
for
just
sure.
being like, okay, yeah, that is funny actually.
There's a lot of concepts that I understood more better when I listened to Chappelle and his new stand-up thing, and I was like,
Yeah.
I would never have understood that if you hadn't framed it like that. Like, did you
And
check
if you
out?
hadn't made me
his-
laugh.
Yes. Because at the same time, I'm enjoying it and I'm learning. Like if if the education
this
system
is why
is sort of
sometimes. Sorry, I don't want to talk over you.
no, I'm just saying like if the education system sort of like blended like that, like some of the best teachers I've ever had were one of the funniest people I've ever had, right?
Absolutely,
He
absolutely.
used to make us laugh and then teach us about ad maths.
yeah.
I was into it, but then some of
Yeah.
the worst experiences I ever had in school were from teachers who thought highly of themselves but didn't really have enough to show for it.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with stand-up comedy. Like if you're making me laugh and you're telling me something, if you're being preachy and you're making me laugh, I'm all on board.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
And-
why I kind of think that sometimes the current discourse about this kind of stuff is that you like, I don't know, just the way that things aren't funny anymore. It's like, why? It's like, it's much more fun when things are funny,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to take things so seriously. And also, when you find things funny, you do like let down your guard and you accept something, and you say, yeah, it is funny. And so I think that has value. Like even I don't mean like in a hateful way or whatever, but
Yeah.
I think by laughing, you open yourself up.
For sure. I think I was listening to I think Jon Stewart came on Rogan or something, and they were talking about this. How like people don't listen to comedy anymore to laugh. They listen to comedy to go viral. Because like let's say somebody says something controversial, and I cut it out, I put it on Twitter, and next thing you know, it's like a 75,000, 80,000 retweets. And now I feel good about myself, but now this guy who said something funny out of context is like being blamed for something that he doesn't even mean. And that's sort of been the trend that I've noticed, at least in the past like couple of years or maybe 3 years, that people want to do that now. People want to come out and get you. That's all of Twitter, even Pakistani Twitter. Like, I remember like when Shamoon Ismail tweeted about the Chinese people.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah. Okay.
I knew immediately where this was gonna go, and that's exactly where it went.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I remember if he ever gave an apology, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
no, I think he did apologize, but like, I'm sorry if I
I-
hurt your feelings. Type.
Yeah.
I'm sorry
And-
if your feelings were hurt.
Yeah. And I saw that and I was like, there we go. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating, man. Like, cause I
But
see
again,
all
that's
these- Go ahead, go
that's just a case where I'm just like, please get off Twitter. Shamoon.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
what are you doing? Like, why did you even tweet that? What a ridiculous thing to do. Like,
Yeah. But the
I don't
reaction
know.
of it was so, I don't know, like it was so right and left, because half of them were like, yeah, that's funny, sure, and then half of them was like, no, that's wrong, and moral policing and preachiness, and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah, yeah.
it gets
It's
frustrating.
just weird. Yeah.
But like, as someone who's from like, who's basically lived here like half of his life, I go out to like the streets of Toronto when I used to, and I see all these like stand up gigs and people like street buskers and musical nights, and I envy that for our culture, because I feel like we're missing something, because the only way to truly export your thought process is via art, and we don't have that. So people think of us as like you know how they portray us at Homeland, like that's what people think of us.
Yeah.
Because we don't have an outlet that we can be like, oh no, this is how we are. Just look at our art. Like, look at the movies we make. Look at the songs we sing. This is what we are. India has that upper hand over us.
But they will never ever like change their view of us. Like, I don't think pandering to
know.
those. I don't think pandering to how other people look at us is at all a like valuable way to think about things. In my
No,
opinion.
I totally agree with you, but I don't think that's what I was. I don't think that's what I was getting at. I was getting at like
Okay, so
when people like. I don't mean pandering in a sense, but I mean like there has to be some sort of representation for your culture. Like, what do we have to represent?
like
now?
I think Homeland will always be how we're looked at. Do you know what I mean?
Really?
Like,
I don't think so. I think you can change that for sure.
I think we can change it, but like, yeah, I don't. Maybe.
I don't
But-
know. Maybe
but
we
like,
should make
but-
some movies about them, about
Yeah.
drone strikes and whatnot, right?
Yeah, like that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Right, like
So,
our
but
own.
we don't have a platform to do that. We can't. The
Yeah.
closest we got was Var. That movie. Yeah, I don't remember it really well, but I heard it was a CGI fest. But like
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
closest we
yeah.
got to ever coming down to making a Saving Private Ryan.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen the movie, but I haven't heard fantastic things about it. But I mean, I think it was his debut film, so you know.
We give him slack. He's trying.
And I think it was Bilal Lashari, right? Like he's making
Lashari,
Mawla
yeah.
Jet right now.
He's
So, yeah,
he's been making Mawla Jet. I don't know what's happening with that,
Yeah.
because I think I
But
saw that
dude-
trailer like 2 Eids ago.
Yeah. I mean, so many conversations here. Like this is what when I talk about the cynicism.
Yeah.
It's also like really dogged determination, sorry, because it's
Sure.
like all the filmmakers that I know, they're all year after year after year, they say the same thing every single time, which is like, how do we make a film, and you might point at these people and say, why don't you just make one? It's not that easy. Obviously everyone knows it's not that easy, because there is a certain element of like, what do we do when we make it? And like you said, like there's no distribution, there's no platform, there's no place where you can put it. So it just, and again, because we live in an internet era, you put it up online, and sure, it's a platform. You put it up and it's available. It has been distributed, but it disappears into this thing, and you're left with like, well, what was the point in any of
Yeah.
that?
I noticed that a lot with Muro made a web series, which I think was ahead of its time. So good,
Sai?
right? Saya,
That
yeah,
one?
yeah, that one. It was so good, and he didn't make any money off of it, and that disappointed him. And here's someone who knows the art, knows the form really well, and couldn't capitalize on that. Same thing
Yeah.
with Irfan Junejo made this really good docuseries, or not a docuseries, but this document vlog thing on like the Karachi burger, which was also like so good, aesthetically
Oh, yeah,
pleasing,
that was really nice. Yeah.
right? Informative, and it was different from what he was doing, and he was trying to lean towards it, but it got half the traction that it needed to succeed. So
And having said that, what you're talking about is people who still have a huge audience.
exactly,
Right?
exactly.
Like, imagine a filmmaker who doesn't have that. Like, these are the biggest YouTubers in Pakistan right now.
Yes,
So even if Muru doesn't make any money off of it, he still has like hundreds and hundreds of comments praising his work.
for sure.
I mean, that counts for something.
Definitely does.
But there's there's a whole host of filmmakers and creatives on the bottom rung of the ladder who don't have that audience, and they're just like, what do I do?
Yeah,
I
I
do
think
think
we
that-
should. Go ahead.
Go
Go
on.
ahead.
No, sorry.
No, I was just gonna give a closing remark, but go ahead, finish your thought.
I think I was just about to say that you could criticize them for being in some way lazy,
Yeah.
or by just like, why don't you just make it and then see? Which
Yeah.
I kind of agree with, right? Like first you have to make the thing and then you can worry about the rest.
Yeah.
But this is just a really weird place to be making any kind of art right now,
Yeah.
or anything creative.
That's a great
It's just
segue because my next question was going to be like, if we wanted to end on a positive note, what do you think is the answer to it? Is there supposed to be like a counterculture that's going to balance it off? Is like, Imran Khan said a lot of positive things and he was really trying to push the arts. Hasn't really done anything about it. Do you think like the government has to step in and provide platforms for these people? Like, what do you think in the next 5 to 10 years, how does art in Pakistan change and how does it change for the good? It's a heavy question. I know I'm leaving you with a lot, but
Yeah.
I think I've seen your stuff enough to know that maybe you have some sort of idea.
To be honest, no, because like you kind of just end up taking it like, oh, what do I want to do? Now it's
Yeah.
very like day to day. It's not like because you can't really look into the future here,
Yeah.
or like you can't look to the future.
Yeah.
Because also like I mean, relying on any kind of government action is completely futile. So
Yeah.
we don't even think about that.
Yeah.
It could change the next day. They could ban something, or they could do whatever. They
Yeah.
were even talking about YouTube banning. I mean, come on, like
Yeah,
how
I
can
heard
you?
about that.
It's so difficult to exist in this kind of, or to be creative in that kind of an environment. Anyway, that was just talk, but I have a very simple answer that I've just been thinking about recently, and it's very stupid, but I think especially with COVID these days, I'm just like, I really think people just need to get offline.
Yeah.
I really think
100%.
that I really think it's poisoning creatives' brains. I feel it
I could go on a
myself.
whole tangent about that.
Yeah,
like-
just because I feel it myself a lot.
Yeah.
I feel
for
like
sure,
my
for sure.
brain is dying slowly.
As
so,
soon as your screen time rises at like 3 hour mark, you know that the day is gone.
yeah,
Because there's only so much of your of like blue light that your brain can take before it starts like giving up. And that's why I respect artists like huge artists like Ed Sheeran, who like are on social media for a couple of years. When their album is coming out, they do the whole run and then they're gone. Like Ed is
Yeah.
gone. You can't see him. There's nothing about him.
Mhm.
He's not on social media for the past year, and he'll come back next year with an album and boom, he'll be back on it.
Yeah.
I think that's so
Yeah.
important for the creative process, especially for someone like me who writes. And if I can't write or read, and I'm on my phone all the time, I'm wasting. I feel like I'm like a kokla, like a really like weird version of myself. And
Yeah.
I think you're completely right. Like we need to detach ASAP. Especially
Or even
creatives.
even as a writer, you'd be like, if you're so worried about where it's going to be distributed or where you're going to write for, like,
Yeah.
just write the thing. And the only way you can write the thing is if you get offline, I think.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
just don't see any other way, to be honest.
There is no other way. The internet's been so toxic, man. Like for the past couple of years, especially when you're in the pandemic, I thought I'd get more writing done, but get this, nothing.
Really?
Every time I try to sit down, I'm distracted or uninspired, or there's no motivation, or if there is motivation, it's so small in the tank that by the time I put in like 150 words, 200 words, it's gone. And because
Right,
there's no
right.
work ethic, there's no routine, there's no repetition, because of the phone, I am left there, I'm hanging out to dry.
Yeah,
And
it's
I think
so
it's the past-
strange.
Few weeks it's gotten better because I've sort of realized that and detached myself from my phone. Like I keep my phone in the other room when I'm writing, when I'm reading and all that. I try to use my Kindle more than I use my phone, and it's helped a lot. But it's a downward. I don't know. It's a losing battle, I feel like.
Yeah, it's really weird, man. Because again, it's like so essential as well. So
Yeah.
it is a losing battle in some ways. But these days I'm just like I can feel it, like.
So what do you do to
pulling
detach?
things apart? Man, I
Just
don't.
put it away.
I just like I like being busy. That's the
Yeah.
only way I found that I'm just like, oh, I haven't even checked Instagram for like 3 hours or whatever,
Yeah.
which is a big deal somehow.
Yeah.
Like imagine saying that you haven't checked Instagram for 3 hours and that's a big deal. Like what
I,
ridiculous person.
I think what I did was I uninstalled Snapchat. Like it's gone. I don't use it anymore because it was
Uh-huh.
stupid anyways. And
Yeah.
all I saw was like every time I used to go to like their explore page, all I saw was like ranting for like
Right, okay.
10
I
hours.
don't use
I was like,
Snapchat, but yeah,
it's
that
horrible.
sounds.
I got that
okay.
out. I deleted I turned off all the notifications for like all the social media apps except for WhatsApp.
Mhm.
And that really helped. Like I think you should try this. I tell this to everyone. If you shut
Turn
off
off
all
the
the
notifications.
all of
Yeah.
them, even if you have the
Yeah.
apps on, just turn the notifications off. Because
Right.
when the thing doesn't blink on the top, like the light doesn't blink,
That's the
Yo,
thing, dude. That's the thing.
you don't
It's
get the
that-
anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, oh, is someone messaging?
Like, what do they call
me
it?
or-
It's like phantom limb. It's like
Yeah.
this extra part of you that like blinks, and then you're like, oh, I have to.
And you
reach for
totally
it.
notice that when you like detox, when you put your. I did that like in the starting of the pandemic. I just didn't use my phone for like I think a week.
Mm-hmm.
The first few days I had like those like alcoholic withdrawals, man. Like I was shaking. I
Such a
was
lame
fidgeting.
addiction.
It's the worst. It's the worst. I think about Hemingway and Fitzgerald and how they like were proper alcoholics. And like
At
I
least
aspired to-
alcoholism gives you like stories.
Yes, like
Gives
I
you shit to write about.
That's true.
And
Like, I
like, not to make,
proper-
not to, you know, but
Yeah. Not to like. Yeah, I totally get it. But I proper like idealize them, and I'm like for religious reasons or whatever. I don't drink, so that's fine. But then like,
yeah,
what is my
same,
addiction?
but
Really?
it's-
Phone?
Yeah.
Like you know, Hemingway blew his head out because he was, you know, drunk.
No, this
and
is
was
exactly what I
depressed.
mean. Like a
What am I
heroin
gonna-
addiction. At least you have a story. If you get through
True.
it, at least you have a story that I beat heroin addiction.
That's
Oh, I
true.
put my phone away for 10 days. Oh, great.
I read Russell Brand's self-help book about addiction. I think it was called Recovery, and he was talking about like his own thing, right? He was talking about drug addiction and alcohol abuse and all that stuff. And I was reading it like I totally got what he meant because of my phone.
Yeah.
I was like, I
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
know what you're talking about, man. The first
Yeah,
10 days
yeah,
are the
yeah.
worst. Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, Abdurrahman, like this was amazing. I'm so glad you sat down with me. I've wanted to talk
Thanks,
to you ever since I discovered your stuff.
Thank you.
I think this was a very insightful conversation. I learned a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, thanks, and I really enjoy your platform as well, and I'm gonna be definitely following the
The
broadcast.
So here's the thing. We used to be a cricket podcast. Me and my brother.
Acha.
My
Okay.
brother was supposed to be here, but I have COVID symptoms, so I've been quarantining in my room for the
Okay,
past
okay. You feeling
4
okay?
days. Yeah, I'm fine. It's just the
Okay.
first couple of days I had like fever and chilled and all that. And I was like, I got myself tested.
Sure.
Supposed to get my result today, so hopefully, inshallah, it'll be good.
Inshallah.
But
yeah.
There's usually two of us, and so we like really
Mhm.
bombard you with questions.
Right.
Yeah, we started off as a cricket podcast right after the World Cup last year because we were in the UK, and then we were
Mhm.
like, you know what, we want to like branch off. So
Sure.
we renamed ourselves. We took broadcast, but took the A out because we were like, it's gonna be edgy. We're bros. We're brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
And nobody really got that. Everybody's like, there's a typo in your title, man.
Oh, really? No, I got
Yeah,
it.
and I'm
I
like,
got it.
ugh. I'm like, whatever. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's a thing now. And then we
Yeah.
got like Junaid on. We had Matt Whitecross on, and
That's
it blew up
dope.
from
Yeah,
there.
I saw the Junaid
pretty cool.
episode. Yeah.
It's
That's
been
awesome.
good, and I'm glad. I'm really grateful for you to come on. This was amazing. I had a great
Thanks
time.
for having us.
Do come on again whenever you want,
Would love to.
and we'll talk more.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate
All right.
it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, bro.
माँ अम्मी फिर से सारी बातें जो नहीं करनी थी कर डाली माँ